Hey everybody, welcome back again to my channel. As you guys all know, my channel focuses on film, fashion, and finance. I've been doing a lot of finance videos because you guys seem to really like that. So today we're doing another one. I have my friend here, my beautiful friend, Jilisa. Jilisa, she's an entrepreneur, she's a confidence coach, she's a business mogul, she's a networking guru, she is everything. Like, she has a wealth of knowledge about, basically starting from the ground up and like building an empire essentially. So this video, as you can see by the title, we are talking about grants, grant writing, how to get a grant, especially for all you entrepreneurs or creatives that are looking to get a grant for your artistic projects, or looking to get a grant for a business. So I'm gonna let Jilisa introduce herself first before we get into the questions, the Q&A.
All right, well, thanks for having me.
Thank y'all.
My name is Jilisa Brown. I'm a confidence coach, as Crystal said. That's how I actually started in business. I started as a confidence coach because I really struggled with my own confidence growing up, and once I figured it out, I wanted to solve the problem. And the problem is, like, so many of us go through the confidence issues, and it really comes down to us having these conversations first to realize that we're not alone. So I'm a confidence coach. I'm also a CEO and co-founder of House of Nine, which is a sorority where Black women gather for self-mastery and sisterhood. We actually just launched a mobile app, so that's super exciting. You can find
I'll put a clip here.
Yes, you can find it in the app stores at House of Nine. And also, I am actually the Director of Community Engagement at SETC, which stands for Social Economy Through Social Inclusion. And that's where I get all of my grant experience from. So SETC, we're really doing a lot of work within a social finance ecosystem around helping members of the Black community really figure out this kind of grant world and figure out how to get funding for your business, because the government of Canada keeps making these announcements and making these funds available.
But no one really knows how to access them. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's perfect. So that's why we're here. And yes, there are grants out there, but a lot of us don't know, myself included. And this video is very much for me as well, because I know there's a few projects that I need to get grants for. So I brought in Jilisa because she has experience on that, on how we can go about applying for these grants. And again, this is for Canadian context. So sorry if you're in the States. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if Jilisa has any knowledge for anyone in the States, but this is more for Canadian context. So let me just start off with a real basic question. I mean, I feel like everyone watching this should know, but just in case there's anyone that does not know, what is the difference between a grant and a loan?
Okay, so a loan is something that you have to pay back. A grant, especially in the situations where, so even in grants, some grant situations, folks expect to pay back, but there are grants that are called non-repayable grants. Those are the ones that you do not pay back, and those are the ones that a lot of our communities are going for, because otherwise it's really is basically a loan, which is what they call right now like a social finance fund. So in the social finance fund world right now, when you say the word investor, we're talking those investment situations. A lot of time, like, we're paying that kind of money back. Whereas a grant, a non-repayable grant, you're applying for it, and whether it's the government or an organization or an institution that's providing that money, they just want to know that the project is doing well, and so, like, over a period of time, they'll check in with you, make sure that you're following through with all the things that you said you would be doing, and using the funds according to how you proposed that you were going to use it. In those situations, if it turns out that maybe you have money left over, or that the funds are not being allocated in the way that you said that you would
have to pay.
Yeah, in those cases, you would have to return the money.
Repay it back. So would you say grants, I guess, because I'm thinking in my head, so say the non-repayable grants, since it's basically like the government or an organization kind of giving you the money, versus a loan where they know they're going to get it back. Would you say a grant is harder to apply for than a loan?
I would say partially yes.
Mm.
Because the amount of people that are applying for the grants are higher.
Okay.
And because they have like a certain amount of money allocated for this grant, they literally like divvy it up according to which projects they want to place the highest priority on. But also, like, being a Black Canadian, we know that there's trauma in banking, and we have definitely a different experience when we go into the bank to try to get a loan. So that could also be a really traumatizing and hard experience for us as well.
So where does someone start? Like, where do they start? Like, how do they start if they want to get a grant?
The first step is having a project. When I started, I thought that it was like, okay, you know what, my whole business, like, I'm just trying to get funds to fund my entire business.
Okay.
But with grant applications, it's really about a project.
A specific project.
Specific project. So there's two ways that you can kind of go about it. You can either create like a research project, or maybe if it's not research, in your case, it might be something else, but you're creating a specific project where you're gonna put research and data and like a whole bunch of things like that, and then raise funds for it. So like what you were kind of talking about before.
Right.
And then there's the other way where you can find a grant, or someone tells you that there's a grant going on, and according to what that grant is looking for, you can kind of create a project or program based on that. Starting with a program idea and concept is definitely something that you need. And then when you come across these funds, one thing that I really love to do is really, of course, look into the details, the expectations and guidelines of what they're looking for this specific fund. But I also like to go and look and see who's been successful with this funder before. Because when I look into those successful ones, I can actually say, okay, you know what, this is what they've accepted before. Not only have they accepted before, but this is kind of the language that they're looking for.
Yeah.
You know? This is how I can kind of adapt my idea.
Do grant websites have that information available, like past grant recipients?
Yeah. Every grant that I've applied to really has had those past recipients. Sometimes it's like the first round though, the fund, like it's a brand new fund in the first round. What's great is always taking the opportunity to reach out to the coordinators behind the grant. And it's not that you're just reaching out and trying to get them to help you write the grant with you. They're not going to do that.
But I guess get a better vision.
Right. So say you have your idea and you say, hey, grant coordinator, this is my idea. Does this fit?
Okay.
Or, you know, here's the idea and I know it fits, but how can I make it stronger so that my application can be more successful?
Okay.
And so those types of people, the coordinator of the grant is always available, and like you'll find it their contact information will be somewhere.
Is there a directory that people can go to see a list of grant applications, or is it just a Google search?
I'm sure there are directories. Personally, I wouldn't say that I've really used one.
Okay.
A lot of the grants that I hear of are really, I hear through my network. So, you know, building your business network is definitely important. And when building your business network, it's not just going to networking parties and collecting business cards, you know?
And Instagram handles.
Right, exactly. And social media handles. It's really remaining those connections, building those relationships, and also taking the opportunity to let people know, like, hey, I'm thinking about working on a project, or here's something that I'm working on. And so when you tell people that, now I know the project that you're doing. So, anytime something comes to my desk, I can be like, oh my gosh, I know Crystal's doing that. Yeah. So one way is through networking. Another way, and it sounds pretty simple, it is Google.
It is Google.
It's
literally... I guess Google is the directory.
It is though, and it's really like so much easier than we think.
You're right.
It literally is grants for filmmakers in Canada.
True.
Grants for youth projects.
Just hitting those keywords.
Right, exactly, the keywords, and it will bring up so many that you won't even have time to do them all, really.
Right. So would you say that grants are not really for people that are trying to start a business. Like if I want to just sell a product.
Yeah, so there are definitely different types of grants. When starting a business, there's like startup capital. There's those types of funding that you can apply for.
Okay.
For-profit businesses also have the opportunities to apply for non-repayable grants.
Okay.
Right? And so, but the majority is like the nonprofit sort of scene, and it's generally like social enterprise or social purpose organizations. Like
Right.
People that are giving out money that don't want to return aren't necessarily just giving it out so that their profit can be your profit.
Right.
People that are giving out or investing money are looking to also create change. So that could be social change, environmental. There are so many different ways that, like, you know, we can create that social development impact.
Yeah.
So those are mainly the areas that I find people really applying for grants. But again, there's also like venture capital funding and stuff for people that are maybe just want that startup.
Are there a lot of grants in Canada for Black businesses and Black initiatives?
I would say that right now they're starting to do that a lot more. Like with the societal climate, with everything going on, there are more opportunities open, like grant opportunities open for Black business. I would even say that too, because it's not that it's just the government of Canada that's putting out these supports for Black businesses. Like other organizations are also doing that. So if you're a Black business, I definitely recommend that you apply to each and every single one of those, because it's just like chance, right? The more you apply to, the more there's
the more likeliness. Yeah,
exactly. So there's that. But
how long normally would you say it takes to write a proper grant application?
How long? Ooh, I think it depends on the length of the grant. And like as soon as you hear about the grant, regardless of how far the deadline is, I highly recommend just starting, just with anything else. But especially with grants, because it can be a lot. And it takes a lot of brain power. And like with grant writing, there's again 2 ways that it could go. Like either you start from scratch and you write your proposal about your business and your project and how you're going to measure the impact and how you're going to use the money and all that kind of stuff. But there are also grant applications, like just like questions. So you have to answer the questions in like 200 words, for example.
Which could also pose a challenge in itself.
Right.
Yeah.
So keeping it succinct, getting it straight to the point, but also making sure that you're still painting the picture that you want to paint. So it could take some time, and like sometimes going through those questions, like depending on your capacity and all the other things that you're doing in your life, like maybe you can only do 1 question a day. But when you start ahead of time, like you don't feel that pressure as much. Like I know people that have been writing grants and like they can knock out a grant application in a couple hours. But for some of us that are newer, it could take some time.
Could take a couple days, couple weeks. Last question, what would you say are maybe like 3 or 5 things that are pretty much almost every grant application will ask?
So yeah, you definitely have to have your vision. You have to have a budget for your project. Your budget should include things like administrative costs. It should include things like actual, if your project includes travel, if you need to book space, if you need to pay telephone, like everything.
You need to pay people to eat.
Exactly.
Not pay them to eat.
Pay to feed people.
There
yes.
we go.
You know, every line item that you could possibly think should go on that budget. Another great thing to have is support letters. Support letters maybe from other organizations that you've worked with.
Kind of like references?
Yeah, exactly. A reference letter, basically. What else do you need for a grant application? One great thing to have that many don't think about is really having a partner. And I mean, sometimes we have partners within our business, but it's also great that as an organization, I partner with another organization.
Okay.
I'm learning that funders really like that.
Okay.
And they really see that collaboration, and it really makes the application stronger, because you know that the weight isn't just on that one organization.
Okay.
You know, collaborating with other organizations is super helpful, and it also takes a lot of the work off of just that one.
Yep. That is true. Well, I honestly thank you so much for those tips. I've learned a lot. So thank you so much, Jilisa, for coming. If you do have any more questions, and for me or for Jilisa, where could they find you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. You can find me on Instagram at Jilisa Brown XO. You can also join us on the House of Nine Instagram page. You can stay tuned with everything with sorority at House of Nine app. And honestly, if you have any questions, like specific grant questions, or you really want to get to know more about SETSI and the work we're doing, you can email me at jilisaB@setsi.ca.
And I'll put all the links in the bottom. Thank you again so much for watching. Always make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Okay, we're trying to get this channel up to 1,000 subscribers.
Yes, right now.
So subscribe.
Wow.
I'm giving you good content here. All right. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share.
Yes.
And I will see you guys next time, darling.